According to this courthouse injunction, you are violating the access agreement.
I don't care what that paper says. This dock is for members only. That sign is final.
At 4:27 a.m., I woke up to flashing blue lights cutting through my bedroom blinds and the sharp smell of cold lake air sneaking in through a cracked window. My phone was buzzing like a trapped hornet. 2 cops were standing on my porch, boots wet from the grass, hands resting near their belts like I was about to sprint into the water with a stolen canoe. One of them said the HOA got a report that I was trespassing on a members-only dock. I looked past them and saw it. My dock ladder was wrapped in fresh chain-link fencing, zip-tied so tight it squeaked in the wind, and a sign was bolted right over the rails. Members only 1974. In the beam of a flashlight, it looked like a joke someone would hang in a bar. But it was on my lake dock. On my ladder. Like my own backyard had been annexed overnight. By 9 a.m., I was standing down there in a hoodie, hands shaking from anger and cheap gas station coffee. The ladder was still there, trapped behind the fence like a dog in a kennel. My kids' little wet footprints from last weekend were still on the planks. The wood smelled like sun and algae. I kept reading the sign, hoping the letters would rearrange into sorry, prank. But it stayed nasty and smug. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a ladder. It was a power play. I told my wife, right there on the shoreline, HOA fenced my lake dock ladder and posted members only 1974, then I filed the injunction, and I meant it. Because if they could block a ladder today, they could block my driveway tomorrow. They could block my front door next week and call it community standards. And the 1974 part? That was Karen's favorite year because it was the year the neighborhood started. She said it like it was a sacred book. I tried to be normal first. I called the HOA office and left 3 calm messages. I emailed the board. I even went to the clubhouse on May 3, 2024, at 6:15 p.m. with printed copies of my deed and dock permit. I found Karen in the lobby by the coffee urn, wearing a bright scarf and a smile that didn't match her eyes. I said, "Hey, that ladder is part of my property. The fence is a safety hazard." She didn't even look at the paperwork. She looked past me like I was a fly. She said, "You people think you own everything because you live on the water." Then she patted the sign with her fake nails like it was a pet. I asked the other board members to step in. They stared at their shoes. One neighbor I knew, a nice older guy, whispered, "Just drop it. She ruins lives." That's when I saw it. Everyone was scared of her, and the board was letting her be the loudest bully in the room. So I drew my line. I told myself I would not do anything stupid. No yelling matches. No midnight revenge. Only proper channels. Only facts. I went home, sat at my kitchen table, and started building a case like my dock ladder was evidence in a murder mystery. I took clear photos of the fence, the sign, and the bolt holes. I saved every email. I pulled call logs from my phone because the trespass report felt too planned. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. Then I did the boring, deadly thing Karen never expected. I filed a public records request with the county for HOA filings, easements, complaints, and any prior safety reports on that dock area. When the file landed with 63 pages, I almost laughed. Karen didn't just act like she owned the lake. She wrote it down in little letters and hoped nobody would read it. I made my own simple timeline so I could explain it to a judge without sounding like a ranting maniac. I wrote it in plain words on a yellow pad, then typed it clean. Timeline item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. Timeline item 2 May 3, 2024, 6:15 p.m. refused to review my deed. Timeline item 3 May 6, 2024, 7:40 a.m. fence installed over ladder. I also counted the noise. In 2 weeks, there were 7 complaints filed against me, and not one was real. One said I ran a business off my dock. Another said I was harassing geese. I wish I was kidding. The public records also showed the HOA never had an easement on my dock. Not in 1974. Not in 1994. Not ever. The dock was permitted under my lot, and the ladder was required for safe access under the county's lake safety rules. I wrote one sentence in my notes and underlined it twice: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Because Karen's little phone calls weren't just annoying. They were a pattern. Here's the twist Karen didn't see coming. I didn't fight her in the clubhouse. I fought her on paper, in daylight, where she couldn't talk over me. On May 10, 2024, I filed for an injunction and attached the whole binder. I also called the county inspector and asked one simple question: is it legal to fence off a required access ladder on a permitted private dock? The inspector showed up 2 days later at 2:12 p.m. with a clipboard and zero patience. Karen rushed down in sunglasses like she was arriving at a red carpet, acting shocked that anyone would question her. The inspector read the sign, looked at the fence, and said, "This is blocking a safety point. This gets removed today." Karen tried her usual trick. She said, "It's community property." The inspector asked for proof. Karen didn't have it. She had vibes. The inspector wrote a violation notice right there and said fines could reach $1,000 per day if it stayed up. Meanwhile, a few neighbors had gathered, phones up. Someone yelled, "Free the ladder." People laughed, and Karen's face went stiff like a cracked plate. When we got to court, Karen showed up with a manila folder like that would scare me. I showed up with my binder, my deed, the 63 pages, and my timeline. The judge flipped through the documents, paused on the false trespass call, and asked Karen why police were being used as her personal alarm system. Karen tried to cry. It didn't work. The judge granted the temporary injunction and ordered the HOA to stop interfering with my dock access while the case moved forward. After that, the police calls stopped like someone cut a wire. The board suddenly found their voices, too. At the next meeting, one member apologized to me in front of everyone, hands trembling. Another said they were tired of surprise fences and historical signs being used like weapons. Karen lost her seat 2 months later in a recall vote that passed by 43-12. The fence came down, the sign disappeared, and my kids climbed that ladder again, laughing like they'd won something big. I stood there with my feet on the warm boards, listening to the water lap soft against the posts, and for the first time in weeks, the lake felt like home again. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.